Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the second half of the cooking basics. I said that I was going to try to do that for the month of February. I was only able to get 2 videos out, but I still hope that you guys enjoyed the extra content of what I have been putting out. My February has just been super busy for me with my regular content that I had already had planned in general, but I still hope you enjoyed these 2 extra videos. So this is the second video. I'll link the first video down below. So like I said, this is just kitchen basics. So this video today, I'm just going to go over like 2 simple cutting a onion and cutting a pepper. Now please remember, I'm no culinary expert. I'm just a home cook. I have had culinary background many years in the past. I did go to culinary school, but I didn't graduate. I ended up dropping out, going home, marrying my husband, and look at us now. But I still enjoy sharing all of my tips and tricks and everything with you guys. So just hang in there with me and we'll get through this YouTube journey together. But y'all seem to really be interested in the whole kitchen basics thing. So if past this video itself, if there's something else that y'all are interested in wanting to learn, let me know in the comments down below so I can kind of see if we can take this further to the next month, or like what y'all actually want to know past this. Because like I said, I was just planning on doing this for February, but February is coming to an end. And it went a lot faster than I thought it would. But I still hope y'all enjoy. So like I said, we're going over cutting today, just super simple. And I have a couple like random kitchen favorites or like hacks or tips, whatnot. You know, kitchen tips, let's just say that. I'll add those in after the cutting. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, y'all, so first things first, it's definitely important to have a sharp knife whenever you are cutting anything. So here I'm just going to go over a quick tutorial on how to sharpen. It's super simple. My knife kit came with this sharpener, but you can get them individually on Amazon or anything. But you want to make sure that you're keeping your hand underneath, making sure you're keeping every finger underneath that ring on that plastic grip, so that way if your knife slips, then your fingers are hidden and the plastic will stop it, so you won't get cut while you're trying to sharpen it. But don't be intimidated by it, because this is very important to do. Like I said, you want to make sure you have a nice sharp knife when you are cutting things. If you notice that you're having problems like cutting through a tomato, like if it just goes like straight squish, or you have to struggle to cut a tomato, then you probably need to sharpen your knife. And people are more likely to get cut with a dull knife than a sharp knife, because you're less likely to struggle with cutting. So as you see here, you just want to do a up and down motion on that steel. You want to do it at an angle. Make sure it's not completely straight up against, like you don't want your whole knife laying flat on the steel. Do it kind of at an angle where you're getting the end part cut. I was trying to figure out the best way to explain this. But like I said, it's super simple, and there's also other videos, tutorials that you can watch as well. Like I said, I'm just giving you a super easy breakdown. So here is me cutting up a onion. So I just cut off that one end. You really want to keep the end with the hairs, as I call it. Keep it intact if you can, because that's actually where the root of the tears is what I call it. So you're less likely to get tears if you go ahead and cut that open, because like I said, that's the root of the tears, and that's kind of the root of the onion in general. So if you keep that intact, it's easier to hold on to while you are cutting. So I just cut it in half so you have a flat surface to start with. And then I'm just taking off all the peel, as much as I can, down to the root. And then with my sharp knife, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut 2 to 3 slits sideways of the onion. Now this is for like a small dice. Of course, if you want larger, then just do 1, or if you want them just, you know, big, then you don't even have to do this. You can skip this step, but this is for a small dice. So I'm doing about 3, and as you see, I'm keeping my fingers up and away from the blade as I'm cutting in. You want to, don't force it, kind of wobble it back and forth where you're cutting, but you're also comfortable and you know you're not going to slip. And so then now I'm just taking the knife and cutting at the top, just cutting slits all the way down through. I am still keeping the root intact, so I'm not cutting completely through down to the root. Y'all will see in a second how I cut it once I get to that root. But then once you do that, you can just cut into slices like you see here, and it is a nice small dice. I feel like a small dice is perfect for pretty much any basic recipe, so that's why I decided to kind of tutorial the small dice for y'all, because I thought it was just perfect for any go-to recipe. And so here with the root, as you can see, that's the part that I didn't cut, and so I just kind of go around it, and I just cut around it because you don't want to waste that. That's still good. All of that onion right there is still good, but I like doing that so I know that I have something to hold on to as I'm cutting, and I'm not getting so close to the root. So there's what I'm keeping, and that's what I was saying, the root that has the most tears. And so now I'm not gonna lie, there is a ton of onions that I cut this way and I'm still bawling like a baby. So there is a lot of strong onions out there, but that's just like my best version way to kind of tell y'all that keep the root intact. That is where the majority of the tears are. But here it is once it's all done. Like I said, I had decided to do the small dice for y'all because I thought that was the best way to explain it. Now if you need it to be even smaller than this for a recipe, I'm going to show y'all how to do that in the next one. We're going to do, I'll show you how to do that for the bell pepper. So here is just the same thing. I just did an angle of it above, so you can kind of see how it is from a different angle. I'm left-handed, and so it was kind of the way my kitchen's set up, and with me being left-handed, it was kind of difficult to tutorial this, so I tried to do it in 2 different angles. So I'm just doing the same thing. I'm just using the other half of that onion. So as you see, I'm wobbling it in. I'm trying to force that very much. I just want to get that cut in. Keep your fingers away, and then I just take and do it again at the top, cutting the sides that I want it, cutting all the way through, and I am using the tip of my knife here. And then you're just going to cut into dices. You also want to keep your fingers curled in, as you see. I have my, like if my knife was happen to slip, it would just kind of glide down on my knuckle instead of my finger itself. It's definitely a guide. I feel like if you have your fingers curled that way, you're less likely to get cut. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the bell pepper. I just washed and I've got it ready to go. So I like to cut off the bottom and the top. Now that whole piece right there is still edible. You'll see me in a little bit. I'll cut that up and add it into what I've chopped up. That is totally edible. Don't throw that away. Don't throw that top away either. That's all good. Just that middle right there is what you don't want to eat. And so we're going to take and cut that out. So I just cut a slit in the side, and then I just work my knife around. You're cutting kind of the the knots, I guess is what you're cutting those out, and that's just that whole root inside the big seed part is going to all come out together when you do it this way. So you're just going to have one big piece of bell pepper, as you see. And so that, you just throw it in the trash. So now you can take, depending on what recipe you need your bell pepper for, you can just cut it into slices, thick, thin. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a home cook. I learned all of the whole different cuts, fancy names and all that, and I didn't see the point in sharing all of that with you guys because that's not something that I use in my everyday life. I just do strips, thick, thin, small dice, chunks. Like, it's just like the basics for me. And so I didn't want to go into all that. And so as you see here, I'm just cutting them into strips. And so some recipes call for strips, thin or thick. It would just be totally up to your preference on how thick or thin you wanted to cut them at that point. And then you can go even smaller, which I will show in just a second. And then you're just going to cut, like I said, smaller. And one of the things I wanted to mention here is that the same thing with the onion. When you are cutting, you want to make sure to curl your fingers. Your knuckles should be kind of very close to the blade, almost touching the side of the blade of your knife. That's going to be your guide. You don't want to keep your fingers out where there's a possibility of you cutting your finger. And so if you keep your fingers bent where actually your knuckle is further out, then the blade is just going to touch your knuckle as it comes down, if that makes any sense. So your knuckle is going to be the guide for the blade. And then you just want to make sure you have nice smooth cutting. You just want to rock your knife back and forth. You don't want to pick up, you don't want to be rough, or you shouldn't be rough with, like I said, if you have a nice sharp knife, you shouldn't be making big chopping noises, like cutting through really loud. It should be nice and smooth. You just want to take your hand with that, your hand that's holding the knife, and guide it through what you're cutting. As you can see here, it's very smooth. I'm rocking it back and forth as I'm cutting through, doing these very small dice for the bell pepper. And like I said, that top and that bottom is very edible. Definitely don't want to go to waste there. We don't like wasting food around here, so I'm just going to cut that up real quick as well. But I hope that you all kind of got some insight, I guess, if you are new to cutting and just needed some help. Definitely hope this helps. Like I said, if you have any other questions down below, or if there's something else that y'all want me to cut, like you actually want to see me cut it, let me know, because I feel like this is something that's definitely hidden in the YouTube world on like the basics. So y'all just let me know in the comments down below what you want me to see, what you want to see next, if there's something else you want me to cut. Stuff that y'all are wanting to learn. This was fun to go back to the basics, kind of taking it back to, we get so caught up in just cooking our everyday, cooking dinner every day, lunch, whatever, and you don't think, like, some people just don't know how to do this and they need help to get started. So y'all just let me know. But I'm just taking and cutting that up very fine. As you've seen a second ago, I showed where I'm keeping my fingers on top of the knife, also as a guide as I'm rocking it back and forth. You want to make sure just to keep your fingers out of the way and make sure you have a very sharp knife. So hope you guys enjoyed this cutting segment, and we'll get into some kitchen tips next. Okay, y'all, so for the first kitchen tip, we are going to make some pasta. And I felt like this is just something that needed to be shared. I think it's kind of hidden, but you should salt your water for your pasta. Now, if you have health reasons that you can't, then that's understandable. But if you don't have any health reasons where you can't add, if you don't have any restrictions, salt your water. It is very, very important to have like ocean salt water, y'all. This is one of the things that I learned in culinary school, and it has followed me through. I have held on to this since then. But it literally needs to be like ocean water salt, salty, because this is the only time that you get to flavor and season your pasta. If you have like an extra box of pasta, I would recommend boiling some without salt and then boil some with salt. Taste test them together and tell me that you can't taste a difference in the salt and not salt. So once the water comes to temperature, it's almost boiling, that's when you want to add in a nice generous amount of salt. Stir it and let it make sure it's well dissolved, and then as you just seen where I pointed my finger, you want to make sure that it comes to a rolling boil. Then you add in your pasta. You don't want to add it when it's not boiling. You want to make sure that that pasta is going to have movement from the water, where it will continue a movement and where it won't stick. And then just stir it occasionally, keep it moving. And then I am a taste tester. I like to taste it to tell me if it's done or not. But one of the things as well, just always follow the back of the box. It gives you pretty basic instructions on like al dente, well done, overdone. You kind of get like a basic breakdown of that. But I like to just take it out to taste test it, and you can kind of get a taste of if it's done or not. And then here I'm just showing you that if it's not done, you will actually still see a little white ring where like here you don't see a white ring because it is cooked perfectly. So you can kind of see a difference in the color of the pasta itself when you take a bite and look at it. So that's another way that you can tell as well if the pasta is not done. But to me, if you just bite it, that's like your best clue to know if it's done or not. So this might sound silly to many, for people that know how to boil, and make pasta, but I thought that there's many out there that don't know that you should definitely salt your water. So that was the main point of this tip right here, is to salt your pasta water. So the second tip I have got, I have recently just started doing this, but this is so simple, y'all. So y'all know that nasty tendon that is in a tenderloin? Nobody likes that. It doesn't break down while cooking, and it is just yucky and doesn't taste good. And so it is so easy to take that out, y'all. Look at that. Super simple. So I wear gloves. That's just how I am. Don't like touching raw chicken. I mean, I will, but so you just get a hold of that tendon piece that's always hanging out of the chicken tender, take it with a paper towel, and with a fork, get the tendon between two of the prongs of the fork, and then you're just going to pull it down. Some of them are a little tougher than others, but it comes right out, and it is so simple, and it makes life so much easier not having that thing in there, because just because you cut it off at the end doesn't mean that, like, as you can see, it's all the way through the chicken tender. So of course it's not as thick, but if you just take that whole thing out, it makes so much easier. Okay, also the last tip I have for you guys is using a meat thermometer. I highly recommend this. Luke and I stress this a ton on this channel. Having a meat thermometer is amazing. It saves you so much time and probably a lot of burnt, overcooked meals. If you find yourself struggling with overcooking your meats, like having overdone chicken, it's super dry, not tender and juicy, definitely consider getting a meat thermometer. There is different temperatures of doneness for every type of meat, from pork to beef to chicken. There's all different temperatures. I'll have a link, kind of a temperature chart for y'all in the description box. But if you're struggling with this, or if you're new in the kitchen, I would highly recommend a meat thermometer. They are amazing. I have a link to one in the description box below. Actually the one right there that he is showing you. But it's amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it gave you some help and some tips and tricks and all that good stuff. But I will see y'all in the next video. Bye guys.